no matter what environment I'm in, no matter where I'm at, I'm never going to lower my standards. I'm never going to change myself. And I'm never just going to okay something that doesn't sit right in my heart.
Let's talk about your book. Congratulations. How are you feeling as the release date vastly approaches?
It's vastly approaching. And honestly, I've had so many different thoughts and emotions. I have had moments of full-on breakdowns, like, what am I doing? How am I here? How is this already about to be here? I've had moments of just being so overwhelmed with just gratitude and feeling so humbled and honored to be able to share a message like this with the world. And then other moments of just so much excitement and just so much shock. Like, wow, I've been working on this for so long and it's finally here. So I've definitely been overwhelmed with lots of different emotions. And I'm very excited and very hopeful for how this message can impact so many different people.
Yeah, there's a lot of different topics and messages, I feel like, in the book. Is there a biggest takeaway you want from your reader, or is it hard to pick?
It is hard to pick because I do touch on so many different things, but I know that so many, long to know their worth. They long to know their purpose, and they seek courage to stand up for what they believe in. And so I'm praying that for those who read my book, they see that they were made on purpose and for a purpose, that they have so much to give. They learn to love themselves. They learn to embrace how they were made. And they learn how to fight for their identity and stand firm in their faith and in their beliefs, and know that the way we respond to pressure matters, but the way we prepare matters just as much. And I am tired of seeing a generation just kind of go off of just emotions and feelings and off of what everybody else is doing. And so my hope and prayer is that I would see a generation rise up and say, I don't care what everything else is going on and what everyone else is doing. Like, this is who I am. This is what I'm called to do. And I'm going to rise and encourage in that. And so that's my hope. And I would hope that everyone that, reads my book knows that it's not coming from a place where I'm saying, hey, I got it all figured out and I've got it all together. But, through this book, it's the most vulnerable thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I am not a very vulnerable person, but I am hoping through this book that people see, through my failures and through the moments where I folded under pressure and didn't, stay true to myself, and the moments when I did, that God really used all those moments. And, I learned a lot about myself through those moments. And so I'm really hopeful that through all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, through the book, of me just sharing that it's encouraging and challenging to those out there.
What surprised you the most about sitting down to actually write the book?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea how hard it was going to be. I had no idea the dedication, the time, the emotional energy. I didn't get a ghostwriter, so I didn't have anyone help me. It was literally just me. My mom helped me a little bit just because she's a real one and she's the best. But I didn't have anyone helping me, so it was truly just like me and God, me and my computer, my mom coming alongside of me every now and then. But honestly, I would say one of the hardest things for me was just like I was saying, being vulnerable and just confronting a lot of those things that I had experienced in the past and even experienced on the show, and just opening up about how it made me feel and what I learned through those moments and through that process. And that was really challenging to do. You're kind of confronting emotions and feelings and things that you had, moved on past or whatever. And so bringing people into that and really inviting people into that is very vulnerable, but I also had to tap back into it to be able to share it in its truest form. And so it definitely was an emotional toll, as well as just, pulling all-nighters to get it done and to write and to make sure that it was right. So it was definitely a lot more than I thought it would be, but it's also so rewarding now looking at it, knowing like, this was me, and this was like blood, sweat, and tears that I poured into this, and I have prayed for this and prayed over this book for so long. And so that's why now I get to just be so expectant and hopeful and excited.
Nice. There are little Bachelor nuggets, throughout the book. I'm sure people are obviously excited to hear about that too, because the show was a huge part of your journey and whatever. But we start off with that after the final rose, right at the beginning. So why was that important for you to kick off the book that way?
To me, I wanted to show, because I start off in the book really talking about I talk about courage, and I wanted to show, because for me, my book is called Made for This Moment, Standing Firm in Strength, Grace, and Courage. And for me, when I, entered into that season of going on The Bachelor, I had those 3 words fully redefined for me. I had come in thinking strength was perfection, and, courage was fist up, ready to fight, make your voice known, and grace was passivity and shy and just letting people walk all over you. And so during my time on The Bachelor, I really had those 3 words fully redefined for me. And so I really wanted to show, throughout the book in different ways and in different chapters, kind of what that revelation was like for me and that transformation moment of what those words now mean to me and what they now hold. And so for me, courage, it was learning, obviously where my courage comes from and what the true source is, but also knowing because of that, when to speak up, when to not speak up, when to stand firm, when to back down, and having the wisdom to know when to use that courage and what that courage even looks like. And sometimes the most courageous thing we can do is to remain silent. And that was what that moment was like for me. I'm a fighter, I'm a challenger. It is not easy for me to remain silent. And so, when you're under attack or when you're under pressure, sometimes, the hardest thing to do is to just trust, okay, God, like you're going to defend my character. You're going to defend my name and my reputation. There's no point of me trying to defend myself in this moment. I just have to trust that you have brought me to this point and you're going to take care of the rest. And so that was really that after the final rose, the finale moment for me, what that looked like, without going into too much detail. But yes, that first chapter, it starts off hot, right in the heat of the moment.
It does. And I feel like as I was reading the whole book, you definitely were careful to be, in my perspective, you were writing very much from your point of view and not dragging anyone or trying not to. Was that something you were actively doing and thinking about when you were writing about, a show that was watched by a lot of people?
Yeah. For me, my whole heart of this book is to empower people and to challenge people, to meet them where they're at, but to ultimately help them get to where they long to be and where they dream to be. And so yes, I tell my Bachelor story because it's a part of my life, because it's a part of my testimony and who I am today and where I am today. And because it is how a lot of people do know of me and what a lot of people were curious about and asked about. And I was able to use that in a way to kind of point back to God and to kind of point back to, how I was able to stand firm, how I was able to stay true to myself. And so I do use that story, but I didn't want that story to be the heartbeat of the book. I didn't want it to be a Bachelor tell-all. I didn't want it to be a Bachelor tea spill, where I'm just spilling all, there's no point in that. That's not really helping anyone or adding value to anyone. I do use the story. I do tell, what happened and how everything made me feel. I was very real and honest about all of that. But, for me, I have no bad blood against absolutely anyone. And I can genuinely say that and mean that with all my heart. And so for me, I first of all, I didn't really have anything bad to say, even in the moments where I felt, that there was, I don't know, maybe something was unjust. I didn't feel, taken care of in the moment. I didn't feel very loved and valued in the moment. I still can look back at those moments now and see how God has used it and see how, God has moved in those moments and how he's even moved in my heart with those moments and challenged and changed me. And so I'm grateful for the hard moments, the good moments, and everything in between that took place on that show. So I didn't want the book to be any type of, Bachelor tea or anything of that sort, but rather just show that in the moments that everyone sees and in the moments that no one sees, you are able to rise up. You're able to stand firm in strength, grace, and courage when everyone's watching you, when no one's watching you. And so I really wanted to kind of stick to that message and let that be the heartbeat of the book.
I mean, you talk about pressure and social media and a lot of different topics, like we were saying. And one of the pressure moments that stood out to me in the book was also, talking about the fantasy suite and the Bachelor and all that stigma and stuff like that. What do you say to people who do, say things kind of like, well, the fantasy suite is part of the Bachelor, or how did you navigate that and stick to yourself? Because that is a huge theme of, you made this decision, whether it's about waiting to have sex until you're married or something else, that you had to, stick to your guns.
Yeah. For me, everyone's like, you know what you're getting yourself into when you go on that show. I had actually never watched The Bachelor, so I truly didn't know what I was getting myself into. And even if I did, you really don't, one, you don't know how far you're gonna make it. And two, you don't know what you're gonna be feeling. You don't know what you're gonna be faced with. And for me, I've always viewed myself and my life as, no matter what environment I'm in, no matter where I'm at, I'm never going to lower my standards. I'm never going to change myself. And I'm never just going to okay something that doesn't sit right in my heart and that doesn't align with the vision that I have for my life. And so even though Fantasy Suite Week, it has this label, it has this connotation, it has this reputation as this is the time where you have to explore your physical connection. Well, that's not something I really believe in and value in my relationships. And I know that's different for everyone. But for me, it wasn't a week where I was saying, okay, you don't get to do this. You have to do it the way I do it. And I know that's how a lot of people took it was, I gave Peter this ultimatum, but it was rather, hey, these are my values and my beliefs and convictions. If we're going to do life together and you want to marry me, which I'm not pressuring you to do, that's your choice. But if you do want to be with me and you do want to choose me, you have to know this is how I view this and this is how I feel about this. And so ultimately it's your choice. And that's what I wanted to give him, but I wanted to be fair and I wanted to be honest with telling him about that going into that week so that he had everything up front and he wasn't just blindsided, at the end of me just saying like, oh, you did this, okay, bye. And me not, share with him honestly about how I felt about that week. And I knew that I wasn't going to do Fantasy Suite. I knew that that wasn't something that, really stood again in line with what I want in a relationship and what I want in ultimately in a marriage. That's something I have saved for them, my marriage. And so I do think that in looking back now, I could have shared certain things a little sooner, but I am someone who is always led by peace and always just constantly, just kind of like praying through things. And I don't just react and I don't just listen to like what everyone's telling me to do. I really go off of, is this right? Is this the right timing? Is this the right way? And, I shared what I shared when I felt like I needed to share it. And I know a lot of people didn't agree with it, and that's totally okay. I can see where people come from. I can see, why people had certain opinions that they had, and even why Peter felt the certain ways that he felt about it. I can see all of that. But one thing I can say is I was 100% myself, and I don't have any regrets. I felt like I, went about it in the way that I felt like I best could. And at the end of the day, Peter wanted me and wanted to choose me. But ultimately, our values didn't align, so it didn't work out. But yeah, I think that was kind of my mindset in that week. And I didn't know what was going to happen or what was, how it was going to turn out, but I knew what my standards were and I knew what I valued and what I ultimately wanted. And so if he didn't meet that, then he just wasn't the one for me.
Very fair. Like I mentioned, you don't say anything horrible by any means about Peter or anyone, but have you talked to him at all? Does he know the book, has some stuff in there, or are you just going to, hope for the best?
We have mutual friends. And so, through mutual friends, there's been conversations circulating, but we have not seen each other, since then. We don't talk or anything of that sort. Like I said, I have nothing but the best to say about him. I think he's an incredible guy. And, everyone goes off of what they see on an edit, on a TV screen. But people have to remember that every single one of us are humans and things can be depicted a certain way, but we have real feelings, we have real emotions and a real life. And so I think he's awesome. And again, I hope that even when he reads all of this, that he feels like I, care about him and have his back, and I have nothing bad to say about him. And even through that entire experience, I wish him the best. And I hope that I know that God has an amazing plan for him. And I hope that he sees that for himself too.
Does the show feel like a really long time ago? Because it's kind of crazy that just because everything that happened in the last year, they're 2 years really, but it only aired in 2020. It wasn't that long ago, but it feels like a long time ago as a viewer.
Yeah, it does. It feels like forever. It literally feels like a whole lifetime ago. It's so funny. My friends will joke with me all the time and they're like, Maddie, you were on The Bachelor. I was like, yeah, what in the world? It's so crazy. And so it definitely feels like it was forever ago. And like you said, I think a lot of that has to do with just, we went straight into quarantine. I remember I stepped off the finale stage and 2 days later quarantine hit. So it was like immediate.
Yeah.
So it is crazy thinking about all that's happened in the past, year and a half or however long it's been. And just where we're at now. I'm coming out with a book, and the world is hopefully getting a little bit more settled with everything, but a lot has happened in this past year and a half, that is for sure.
Obviously it seems like the show was a huge learning experience, and I assume you said you have no regrets, you wouldn't change anything, but does that mean the paradise dating scene just isn't for you? Would you want to go try that out, or no?
I had to shoot that one down. I had to shoot that one down.
I had a feeling you were asked.
It's not, unless God speaks to me and is like, hey, that is not something that I have in my mind or on my radar to do. A bunch of my friends did it and, had their experiences. But for me, I felt like I was, and again, this is probably not going to make sense to anyone until they read my book, but I felt like I was supposed to go on The Bachelor. Felt like I was called to be there, didn't know why, didn't know what it was going to look like, had no idea it was going to play out the way that it did. I'm grateful for that now, but along the journey and through the process, it was crazy. But now, presented with the same situation, like, hey, do you want to go do this? I just don't know that I would, again, unless I felt kind of that peace again to do so. I would love to meet someone the organic way.
I was gonna say, dating post show, now gonna be dating post book, now you right. Can get to know you pretty well if they wanna read the book. Is that harder or easier to have everything out there?
It's definitely harder, not knowing, what people kind of know about you, not know about you, their intentions. So it definitely makes it a little bit more difficult, but I mean, again, I'm someone who knows exactly what I want. I know exactly what I need. And so for me, I don't really waste my time just talking to a bunch of people or going on a bunch of dates. I can tell pretty quickly if it's someone that I would be interested in. I can tell pretty quickly if, our vision and purpose for our life would align, if our beliefs and values align. And so I'm pretty picky when it comes to finding someone. So it makes it a little bit harder and a little bit more difficult, but I know that when that right person comes, it's going to make it so much sweeter and better. And
I mean, there's obviously always speculation and people talking about you now because you are in Bachelor Nation, as they say. Yeah. So, I saw those photos of you with Mikey from Katie's season of The Bachelorette. I wanted to know if there was anything you'd like to clear up there, Maddie. I'm not gonna comment on that. I will say Mikey is an amazing guy. And I'm in a season right now of fully focusing on my book, fully focusing on, where God has me right now. And honestly, don't think I could be in a relationship right this second, even if I wanted to, just because my life is so busy and crazy. But yeah, so I'm just really focusing on myself, focusing on this book and getting this message out there, trying to reach as many people as I can with this message. And we'll see what unfolds. We'll see what happens. Amazing. Well, the book is out October 19th, correct? Yes. And October. Everyone can buy it anywhere and everywhere you buy books, I would assume, right? Yes, it's available on Amazon. You can go to my website. It'll also be in, I think, pretty much all bookstores, Target. So it'll be available, like you said, pretty much anywhere you can buy a book. You can pre-order it now or wait until October 19th when it comes out. Did you do an audiobook? I did an audiobook. My voice. Fun. A little scary. Well, I'm sure that people also, podcasts and all that stuff, very interested. So I guarantee you there'll be some audiobook purchases for sure to hear it from your voice, which I think if you read it, you can definitely hear it from your voice as well, but it was very good. Totally. I'm excited. All right. Well, good luck on the rest of your press day and with the book, and thanks for taking time to talk to me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.